Time this morning to the gentlelady from South Dakota, Christy Noem.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for yielding, and I want to thank all of our service chiefs for being here today and for your service to this great country. Admiral, my thoughts and prayers are with you and the Navy during the difficult time. Appreciate your service. We're again confronting the difficult choices and trade-offs that we have in the face of sequestration. Like you, I've heard from service members about their concerns with sequestration. I found that their personal impact is secondary to their concerns about continuing to defend this great country. As you mentioned, General Welsh, we've had our B-1 bomber squadrons grounded, which is eroding our readiness and costing more in the long run. Our National Guard military technicians were furloughed. While many of the technicians that I talked with were extremely concerned about the inconvenience for them and how hard it was on their personal budgets, they also mentioned that if we continue to break faith with them in the coming year and beyond, they've told me that they will find the need to start looking for another line of work. The thought of losing such highly trained individuals, servicemen and women, is very troubling to me, and I'm sure that it is with you as well. Clearly, the options that are presented in the skimmer are not pleasant ones. I hope we can rally around what is our most important duty, and that's to provide for the common defense and to protect our national security. General Welsh, my first question will go to you. As you know, Ellsworth Airforce Base is located in South Dakota. It's home to part of the B-1 bomber fleet. The skimmer contemplated all of the B-1s being retired. Given the B-1's strong track record in our operations in Afghanistan and elsewhere, I believe it would be very short-sighted. Are there foreseeable missions that would go unsupported if this aircraft is in fact retired? And how would you mitigate that loss if the aircraft group in this overall strategy?
Yes, ma'am. We have a problem with mitigating losses in the bomber fleet, as you know, especially over time. Were we to make a major reduction in the bomber fleet, we would have extreme difficulty meeting some of the guidance in the Defense Strategic Guidance. And as a result, I don't think there is major discussion inside the Air Force on that being a fleet that we would eliminate.
You know, in your testimony you talked about, well, in fact, you quoted that we cannot continue to bandage, in your written testimony, old airplanes as potential adversaries roll new ones off the assembly line. Then you go on to mention that the B-52 is as old as you are, which I won't speculate on that today, but why then would you consider retiring the B-1 bombers that are about half the age as the B-52s?
Ma'am, right now, we cannot retire a major portion of the bomber fleet at all and meet the Defense Strategic Guidance. I think when we look at what we can do over time, we have to look at every platform, and we are looking at every platform, every upgrade program to those platforms, and the impact of divesting an entire fleet. And what we'll need to do is balance the requirement to conduct an operation globally, which is something the entire bomber fleet is engaged in, the requirement to conduct that operation over time if, God forbid, we were in a major conflict requiring that fleet to be operated that way, versus the short-term risk to readiness and modernization that sequestration has presented us with. Those are the only two places we can go to have an impact on this right now and to take money to pay for the bill over the first couple of years. So that's why we're having the discussion, not because we think strategically it's a good idea.
I was glad to see within your testimony that you talked about the long-range bombers being a priority and something that you've identified as well, although I did have some concerns with some of the ideas that were laid out within the skimmer as it was portrayed to us. So I will open up the questioning to anyone else or whoever would wish to answer this question. We understand that prior year funds can be used to reduce the impact of sequestration on current year accounts. However, many available prior year funds have already been utilized to buy down FY13 sequestration. To what magnitude does the lack of available prior year funds impact fiscal year 14? I'll open up to General Amos first if he would like to speculate on that.
Congressman, we've been successful in doing that in the past. And as you implied in your statement, as we move into a fully sequestered budget, that flexibility is not there. As we move into procurement, and even in some cases military construction accounts, there are opportunities to be able to realign monies and be able to reach and move monies across what might be a boundary, a rule boundary. All I would like to see in the future, especially as we go into a sequestered budget, would be the ability to be able to take a look at how we are doing in execution. And as things it becomes apparent that you can't do things I'd like the opportunity and the flexibility to be able to move
And that flexibility does erode as we get deeper and deeper into sequestration. Is that correct?
Yes, yes.
When it comes to the, well, thank you with that. With that, Mr. Chairman, I'll yield back.
Thank you.